Good evening, everyone. I'm Laura Ingraham. This is Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. Thank you, as always, for spending time with us. Privileged and radicalized. That's the focus of tonight's angle. All right, investigators tell us that they're trying to piece together the chain of events that may have led former high school valedictorian Luigi Mangione to become a suspected murderer. His Baltimore upbringing was privileged. His family was considered real estate royalty in the city. They were close-knit, known for their generous support of causes like St. Jude Children's Research Hospital through their private family foundation, which right now has about $4 million in assets. So what went wrong for this whip-smart young man who was seemingly liked by all? Was it a hideously painful aftermath of his back surgery? Or was he somehow radicalized to violence on the internet or even by friends? We don't know. His manifesto reportedly said he wasn't working with anyone else, and he railed against the healthcare industry in it and its leaders. He called them parasites, and he did refer to UnitedHealthcare by name. But until we learn more, I think it is worth examining the place he spent 6 years of his adult life, the University of Pennsylvania. We all know it's part of the Ivy League. It's considered one of the premier institutions of higher learning in America. And as an engineering student, he was immersed in difficult technical classes. So one would think that it is thus fairly insulated, right, from politics. Well, maybe. Maybe as a department it is. But the campus at large, we do know, is as liberal as any other top college or university today. It's worth recalling what happened when hate-filled anti-Israel protests filled the campus.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine!
And when then UPenn President Liz McGill testified on Capitol Hill about the protests, this is how the questioning went down.
Ms. McGill, at Penn, does calling for the genocide of Jews violate Penn's rules or code of conduct? Yes or no?
If the speech turns into conduct, it can be harassment, yes.
I am asking specifically calling for the genocide of Jews. Does that constitute bullying or harassment?
If it is directed and severe or pervasive, it is harassment.
So the answer is yes.
It is a context-dependent decision, Congresswoman.
It's a context-dependent decision. That's your testimony today. Calling for the genocide of Jews is depending upon the context.
Now, of course, Mangione wasn't a student when any of this happened. But the details, the foundation of where he was, it's important to at least understand until we know more. Of course, McGill was forced out, good, but the rot obviously runs deep there. After the UnitedHealthcare CEO murder, an assistant professor named Julia Alexeyeva decided to post fawning comments on TikTok under the name The Soviet. In one, she's seen smiling while playing the song Do You Hear the People Sing from Les Miserables, and the text on the screen reads, "Have never been prouder to be a professor at UPenn." Alexeyeva has since retracted her post, calling them insensitive and inappropriate. She didn't mean any of it. A UPenn deputy dean told The Angle her original posts were antithetical to the values of both the School of Arts and Sciences and the university, and they welcomed the retraction and correction. Okay, that's fine. But how many other Professor Alexeyevas are there embedded at UPenn? And what does it say about the university that she was hired in the first place? Alexeyeva's own website identifies her as a socialist and an ardent anti-fascist. She's an assistant prof in English, cinema, and media studies, researching the nexus between global media and radical leftist politics. Her first academic work is called Anti-Fascism and the Avant-Garde, of course. So the woman is a stereotypical left-wing nightmare, and so naturally, just 9 months ago, the indoctrination overlords at UPenn gave her the Dean's Award for Distinguished Teaching by an assistant professor. More like inspire, motivate, and indoctrinate. Now, you get who this woman is when you watch an interview she did of another UPenn professor, another author, and an ideological twin.
One of the wonderful things about this book is that it's kind of arguing that you don't need to wait until a socialist utopia exists on the scale of the government, that these kind of personal revolutionary acts are still important and integral to the political struggle.
Personal revolutionary acts. Well, and of course, Alexeva had praised the work before the woman started talking there. No wonder she seemed proud that, UPenn graduated a suspected killer. That woman's act, the entire raison d'etre celebrated by the university seems to be stoking radical activism among students. In the spring of 2025, she's teaching a class called Abolition and Liberation. Here's the course description. The course will conclude with viewings of contemporary films and media centering around Black Lives Matter and other liberatory movements. And the course will culminate in a final creative critical project to be completed collaboratively between students and possibly in conjunction with an activist organization. Parents, you're paying for this. Now, let's be clear. There's no indication that Alexeva had any personal interaction with Mangione whatsoever. But that's really not the point of what we're saying here. What we're trying to figure out is what life on campus is like for any undergraduate, which includes the professors who shape the political climate on campus. Consider the language that Mangione used in his outburst Tuesday on the way into court.
Oh my God, that's completely out of touch and an insult to the intelligence of the American people and its lived experience.
And its lived experience. That's the type of typical meaningless phrases heard in liberal arts seminars across America. That's my lived experience. And of course, they're now routinely parroted by left-wing political types in Washington.
I love Gen Z! You all are rightly impatient for change. This is your lived experience.
Donald Trump has nothing in common with the lived experience of black and brown people in the South Bronx.
Everyone comes to Congress with their own lived experiences.
They hide the lived experience of much of America.
I know. Painful, isn't it? Well, the lived experience for most students on college campuses today, what is it? Well, when it comes exam time, tailor your opinions to your professors or risk getting graded down. What about the lived experience for the few faculty members on campus who may tend to be a little more conservative? I'll tell you what your lived experience will be, that you let your political views be known and you can kiss your chances of tenure goodbye. And as for the unsuspecting or vulnerable college student, well, your lived experience will be, that you'll be ripe for being propagandized to, and maybe even being radicalized to believe that sometimes murder is justified to advance socialism. And this is just not happening at UPenn. We see this in Sandy at Columbia, where the killing was downplayed, at St. Louis University, where one professor felt the need to say that she's not sad about Brian Thompson's murder, excuse me. And look, we don't know why Luigi Mangione allegedly felt justified in blowing away a healthcare CEO on a midtown Manhattan sidewalk. But we do know the poisonous teachings of radical revolutionaries echo throughout the lecture halls of our top schools. These revolutionaries view capitalists as oppressors who need to be crushed by any means necessary. So whenever the curtain is pulled back at these elite schools, what do we see? Well, we often see anti-Semitism, anti-capitalism, and yes, anti-Americanism go unchallenged and then passed off as enlightened discourse. But encouraging young people to hate their country, it's a recipe for societal unrest, ignorance, and even violence. It's not education. It's indoctrination. And I hope that President Trump finds a way to strip federal funding of any university that refuses to stop this madness. And that's The Angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.